Now this is my life story so far. How I was brought up in Hackney, but born in Whitechapel, in the slums of Whitechapel. And my mum and dad struggled, and my dad became a cab driver. Anyway, you'll see it all in here. And then I became Barry Manilow lookalike and had my own business. Anyway, it all starts here.
Why should they have me when they can have the real thing? Well, they can't. That's the trouble. It's in America most of the time. We were just saying you ought to be a decoy for him when he comes over here. Have the girls running off.
Absolutely. Well, thanks very much for coming in. It really is a remarkable resemblance. But as for the real thing, well, as you heard me say, I asked Barry Manilow to sign. I've got 10 copies of his records, 5 albums, 5 singles. That's his latest single, You're Looking Tonight, I think, yes. He signed the lot, and of course, if you write in to us, very quickly, if you try and get it in today's post for tomorrow, we'll pull out the first 10 entries, and the first 10 entries will get these individually signed Barry Manilow records. Okay? Fantastic, aren't they?
Yeah, let's have
the address to write to, yes, the address to write to is Barry Manilow, TVAM, PO Box 200, London NW1 8TQ, and please postcards only, because I can't open all those letters. Now, that's Barry Manilow. As you know, though...
That was 1983, TVAM. Anyway, this is me as a baby in Varden Street, where we used to live before I went to Hackney. And this was my grandfather and grandmother, Simon and Florence. All must be over 100 years old. And this is my granddad's tailor shop in Whitechapel. He had a tailor shop in Whitechapel High Road. Well, of course, my father was called up to the army, and he went and fought in the army in the war for 6 years. And he was very good looking, my dad. People compared him to David Niven. Very dashing in his uniform. He was with the Desert Rats with Montgomery. He was in Africa and Greece and Italy. And it was hard in those days. In that war, it took a lot out of them, 6 years. And he was a very smart man. I suppose it came from his father being a tailor. He was always wearing lovely clothes, tailored suits. This is me in the pram outside Varden Street in Whitechapel. And this is another one of my grandfather, Simon and Florence, my dad's mother and father. And this is my grandmother when she got old, with the dog Blackie outside the back door in Varden Street. And this one is my dad in Rutland Street School, and that's another one of my dad with Blackie outside the back in Varden Street. And this one coming up now is my mum and dad when they must have first got married. Very, very old photograph. That was 1937. And here's Dad outside the backyard. They had one of those outside toilets like they all did in those days. And that was his father again. And here's another one of my dad when he was a little boy. You can see the way they're so old, these photos, falling to bits, about 120 years old. But they've still got character. You know, they do these photos now and they call them sepia. I think they look quite effective, actually. Sometimes black and white can be very, very nice, very effective. And this was my grandmother, my mother's mother. Her name was Millie. See those Slavic cheekbones? And this was her when she got old. She was a nice looking woman as well. She had about 5 children. This was my mum, blonde beauty. She used to do her hair blonde, and she used to have all different colours. Blonde, black, red. She was also very fashionable. And this was her collecting the milk in Woolwich Way in Hackney. It was a hard life in those days, in the 50s. And this is her standing on the balcony in Woolwich Way. Yeah, they had it hard in those days. They don't know they're living today, really. And this was me. Dad always used to take us to Margate for a holiday. He made a point of hiring a car and taking us to Margate, and they was always encouraging me to swim. This was me with my Auntie Millie. It was my dad's aunt and my great aunt, and here's me and Dad in Margate. It was very good really. He used to take his mother as well. See how skinny I was? They used to build me up. They gave me malt to try and build me up, and later on my dad encouraged me to do all sports, karate, weightlifting, judo. It was good really because it taught me self-defence. People thought twice before mucking about with me, that's for sure. And here's me with Auntie Millie in Margate. Yeah, every year I used to have a week off or 2 weeks off and take us to Margate. He hired a big car, a big Zodiac, because he never owned his own car, so it was a big Zodiac. Here's me, and that's my friend Charlie Buck. He was a nice boy in my primary school. He had a weak heart, and I had to be his protector, because if anything happened to him, if he got in a fight, he could have died. And here's another one, me at school. That was a school photo, as you can see by the toys I'm playing with. And that's me with my auntie. She was my favourite auntie on the balcony in Woolridge Way. And she lived in Westcliff. We went to visit her in Westcliff. She got married when she was about 83. There's me mucking about, and here's me feeding the pigeons in Trafalgar Square. In those days they used to feed the pigeons in Trafalgar Square, but really it was quite bad because they can cause disease, those sort of animals. They pass on viruses and disease. This is in Woolridge Way in the flats. And here's Mum. And this is what I was saying about the black and white. I think it's quite effective, a black and white photograph. Because Dad was a keen photographer. He had a Nikon camera, and he was always getting the camera out, and we used to do developing and printing on a Tuesday night. It was his day off, and he used to black out the kitchen and bathroom, and we used to do developing and printing. It was a nice childhood really. And here's me and Dad on the balcony in Woolridge Way in Hackney. And this was my cousin Carol. She was my second cousin, and unfortunately she died. She was only 59, but I think she had about 5 children. And then her husband died soon after. And here's Mum and Dad, Mum in a gold dress. She loved that dress. That was her favourite dress. She was very fashionable. Whenever they went out, or we went out to a function, she'd buy a new outfit. And then after that, she'd never wear it again. She'd put it in the wardrobe and forget all about it. New shoes. Here's me dancing with Mum and my friend Warren, who I still see to this day. He's a nice chap. And here's Mum at a function dancing, and this was a friend of mine called Lawrence. Here's me on the balcony. Coming up now is Lawrence, and he was a nice friend of mine, but the only problem was he gambled. He was a compulsive gambler, He used to go to the dogs and the horse racing, and he studied the form, and it was a terrible addiction for him, and he made him lose his marriage, and it was a shame really. And this was a holiday we went on to Margate, and we stayed at the same hotel. Here's Lawrence and his mum and dad and my mum and dad, and here's my mum and dad, and here's my mum and all her friends and my dad's friends, because my dad became a cab driver, and he had lots of pals, and they used to go out every so often to different functions. And coming up now is me and Dad. Yeah, I was the only child, so it was hard, but I got used to it. And here's them going out. I think they were going to a wedding or something. Very smart people. Even though they didn't have much, they still made the best of it. And this is Arnold and his mum and dad. That's my first cousin and my mum's sister and her husband. They lived in Slough. And here's my Uncle Manny. That's my cousin's father. And Aunt Mary, that's my mum's sister. And this is them when they came to visit us in Hackney. They used to come to visit us every so often on a Sunday. And me and my Auntie Mary. Looks like I just came out of the bath there. My hair's all wet. This is on the balcony. Yes, it was a hard life in those days, but we made the best of it. And this is Arnold and Sandra. That's my cousin and his wife, Sandra. Good looking couple. He's got the rocker haircut there, the rockabilly haircut. And they also lived out in Buckinghamshire, in Slough, that way. And this is me. I used to do weight training and mucking about with my mum in the front room with my swimming trunks on. We was always joking around, having a laugh. Dad was always getting the camera out. And I love posing. I love posing for the camera. I suppose I still do to this day. And coming up now is Mum with her sister. She had about 4 sisters, but my Aunt Mary was her favourite. This is Aunt Leah, Debbie and Fanny. This is her other 3 sisters. And my dad and my Aunt Leah. See, they were half sisters, whereas my Aunt Mary was a proper sister. And this is a cousin. This is me and John and Larry in Butlins. And this is me and Henry and Larry in Butlins, and John and Larry. We took a jeep to Butlins. It was Henry's jeep, and we all went to Butlins in his jeep. And this was a girl I met on the right there, Phyllis, and her friend in Butlins. About 1969, 1970, something like that. Oh, and this is me on a boat. I went on a singles holiday to Corfu. It was great fun. And this is Marilyn, my ex-wife, who I married. We were married only for a few years, but the relationship was about 6 years. We met when we were 16, fell in love, and we lived together. I left home when I was about 16. And against my father's wishes, of course, and we got married, and a whirlwind romance like you do when you're young. You don't listen to anyone. And that was my car, my first car, Triumph Herald. It was a lovely car. This must have been Devon, and this was Marilyn and my mum. She was very pretty, and this was my Uncle Manny and Aunt Mary, me and Marilyn, mum. We went to visit them on one sunny Sunday. And coming up now is me and Marilyn at a function. I can't remember where it was. You see the colour of her hair, beautiful red hair she had, all natural. And this was another photograph moment for my dad. He always loved to take photographs of my ex-wife. She was very photogenic. And this is another do we went to. I had to make her sew up her catsuit because all her knuckles were hanging out. And this was cousin Arnold and Sandra and me and Marilyn at another do. And coming up now is Mare Street in Hackney. Another photo moment for my dad walking up Mare Street. And mum and me and my ex-wife Marilyn. We must have been about 18 at that time, and this was when we got married. Lovely wedding. It's a shame. Well, all divorces are a shame, and this was my dad. He loved to kiss women, as my mum would say. I think I'd take after him. And this was me again in Corfu on the singles holiday. It was a great holiday. It was only about a week, but I met a few girls, about 3 different girls in that week. And this was me in America. I went to California, Los Angeles and San Francisco, and this was Grauman's Chinese Theatre in Los Angeles. And this was me when I was I worked in the Hilton Hotel, and we had to wear a white uniform, white trousers, white shirt for the Hilton. And I also became a lookalike, a Barry Manilow lookalike. This was my first flat in Leighton in Seymour Road. And then I became Hunk of the Week in the Mirror. Page 5 in the Mirror. Somebody sent up my photograph and I became Hunk of the Week. And this was when I was Barry Manilow lookalike. I had a white silk suit, crepe de chine from Ted Lapidas in Paris. And I became a Barry Manilow lookalike. People thought I looked like Barry Manilow. And of course I met my Thai girlfriend, Sumkit. She lived in Surbiton in Surrey. She was very, very sweet, a lovely girl. This was after I divorced, of course. We lived together for about 2 years in Surbiton. And we were always in Thames Ditton. We used to go for days out in Thames Ditton and Kingston and Surrey. It's a lovely part of London, Surrey. I think it's much nicer than East London. This looks like somewhere in Kingston. We're on a bridge there in Kingston. They were lovely times in Surrey and all around there. And then of course it was the Silver Jubilee, and my dad worked in a camera shop, only part-time because he was a cabbie, and they were celebrating the Silver Jubilee in a place called Harvey Harris in Mare Street. It was quite a well-known camera shop, and he used to love the cameras, so anything to do with cameras, he was there. And they used to go to a lot of functions, like they were Freemasons, and we used to get invited, well they used to get invited to Freemasons functions, to ladies' nights. And coming up now is a girl I met called Jackie, I did her hair, asked her out, and she was very, very nice, very, very pretty. So we went out for a while, and that was us just in the park. And another girl I met just doing her hair when I worked in Bond Street was Anita. And then, of course, there was Vivian. We had a relationship for about 6 months, and it was nice. We went on lovely holidays. This was in Devon or Cornwall. We stayed at a nice farmhouse in Devon. We drove up there, and it was lovely. I do like that part of the country, Devon and Cornwall. I always thought she looked like Meryl Streep, the French lieutenant's woman. She was also very pretty. Nice figure. I like women with a nice, to look like a woman. Well, this is Barbara. She was lovely. I met her just before I opened my shop, and she was a lady, you know, like very middle class, very ladylike. She lived in Woodford Green, and we were friends for many years until unfortunately she passed away. That was in the Canaries. And here's my mum when she got old in the cafe where she used to go. And this was me in my shop in Bethnal Green. I must have been about 45 at the time. And the girl next door arranged a kissogram for my birthday. And that was a nice surprise. But I don't think the customers were too happy about it. Few of them were okay, but some were a little bit put out. A girl coming in and stripping off. And this was Barbara. I met her in my shop. She was a customer, and we became friends, like girlfriend. We had a relationship. Well, this lasted 11 years, and I thought she was going to be the one, you know, I'd grow old with and have a happy life with. But after about 11 years, she decided to go back to Scotland. So that was it. This was a holiday we had in Zante, me and Ruth. And this was Gran Canaria. We had some lovely holidays together. I've got some lovely memories. We always went away in February, because it's cold in the UK in February. That must have been Tenerife. And this was when I did Ruth's hair, because I used to cut her hair and colour her hair. That's how we met, in my shop. I just finished her hair there, a nice beige blonde colour with a bob. And this was a reunion with my pals, John, Vic, Mickey and Ray. And this was me and Ruth again, at a party where she lived and worked. Yeah, she was a nice lady, Ruth. I cut her hair short there, and all I did was run my fingers through it to dry it, or it dried naturally. And she was a lovely baker, a lovely cook. This was one birthday. She cooked me some lovely fairy cakes with all icing. Shame it ended. And this was me one summer. I've been sunbathing in the garden. And of course I was in the newspaper, Barry Manilow Lookalike. And this is me today, 2020, and we're in the middle of a coronavirus, COVID-19. So let's hope we get through this, and then I can make some more movies. Anyway, thank you for watching, and thank you to all the people that have made my life so wonderful. And I'll see you again in the next movie. Thank you very much.